Okay. All right,
and then
we're
you
back.
have to hit the record button too.
See, it's all different. It's stupid. It's stupid the way they're doing it now. It's
so can you record without streaming?
No, or maybe
then
you
why
can.
would you have to hit both?
I don't know. I'm sort of like I don't like this whole new system they've got. It's a mess. But all right, let's get started. Thanks for your patience, everybody in the chat room. We're going to get started now. Where are we? Okay. So I got to hit this record.
It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by TheDartZone.com. Stay in the zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome.
What is today?
The 22nd of January.
What year?
2014.
Like in Terminator. What year? Steve Anselmo with Mystery Mark, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. We had a little, some technical problems earlier in the show. Yeah. Ustream updated their software, and we don't like it. Even you don't like it. You're not that technical, but you can see the problems we're having here. So sorry about that, everybody in the chat room. Thanks for your patience. Big show tonight. We have a couple of people coming on, because we're the dominating all media lately.
Right.
We have Richard Sherman's piano teacher. For people that don't know, Richard Sherman's a football player who got in all this trouble and got all this, Twitter and Facebook attention about this post-game interview he gave beloved Aaron Andrews. And, I saw something that NFL Network was going to talk to his high school teacher. And I'm like, well, we should talk to somebody. Mm-hmm. So we hunted down his piano teacher because that's always the joke. Like people who, the first time they win the Grammys or something, the joke is, well, don't thank your piano teacher. And then Nora Jones is up there thanking everybody. And my first piano teacher, and everybody laughed. And,
really?
She dropped the Grammy.
Right.
So I was like, I think we should get Richard Sherman's piano teacher.
I didn't
because
know you
people
watched
don't know.
the Grammys.
People don't know about this guy. I used to.
Yeah.
I used to watch all the award shows, but I don't anymore. My girlfriend hates that stuff. So the
if it's not on MSN, it doesn't count.
MSNBC, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get into that. No, but the notion somehow, if we could track down his piano teacher, because everybody wants to
we got to find out why he didn't thank her. Is that what you're getting at?
No, I mean they're picking this guy apart like he's the new guinea pig for this dime store psychology.
Yeah.
Right, where all the guy, basically, for you people that didn't see it, basically, after the game, he made a play to, win the game for his team, and they stick a microphone in his face, and he starts shouting because he's got issues with the guy he was defending, and he came off, a lot of people are saying, it was classless, and he's a thug, and all this other stuff, and, now he's defending himself, and he's got his PR people running interference, and he put an article out and all this stuff, and I think it's a lot of fuss about nothing.
Yeah,
but I was like, well, let's see if he was always like that. Let's get his piano teacher on and, see if there was any indication
what it was like when he was young.
Was he screaming stuff at her during recitals and stuff. I think that we can contribute to the discussion in that way. Also, later in the show, we're going to have Adam Sherlock from the Minuteman Dart League. And this is a subject a little bit about. You've kind of seen this. Probably everyone who's come up in darts has seen these sort of confrontations that you get, during league matches, during playoffs, whatever, when the, playoffs, in Chicago anyway, in Chirac, things get a little more. People get testier. There's more pressure. It's a little more intense of an atmosphere. Things sometimes get out of hand. People drinking. Even though they're adults.
Why is there glare on my glasses? Do you see that?
That was the kind of thing Chat Room Girl would do. She would just interrupt me in the middle of a sentence with something that was so totally beyond what I was talking about. I would have to shut up. It's a nice technique. Anyway.
So where'd you leave off?
Well, what I posted was we're going to talk about whether darts should be a contact sport and what do you do about what happens when disagreements escalate and stuff like that. So I wanted to get Adam's take on it. He's the league commissioner of the MMDL, which is the biggest dart league in America, steel tip wise anyway, and see how they work this stuff out. I mean, it's rough. As players, you kind of, you sort of move on from this stuff eventually, but for leagues, how are they setting standards? How are they enforcing standards? How are they communicating standards? How do they come up with disciplinary action, stuff like that? I want to talk to an expert on this.
Right.
So, this league's been going a long time. They got a whole lot of players. So I'm very curious how that's gonna happen. You guys in the chat room, we're getting some very odd indications on our monitors. If there's any issues with the broadcast, if you guys start freezing or buffering, stuff like that, just post something in the chat room so at least we know. I see one freeze in there so far, and we'll try to keep track of it as best we can. We have some results. There were a lot of tournaments over the weekend, so we're not going to be able to get up to all the results, but we are going to cover there were 3 Players Challenge Series matches over the weekend. We had one in Greenville, South Carolina, sorry. We had one in Long Island, New York, and one in Wichita, Kansas. And I was going to try to get Elliot Milk on the show. He played the Wichita, Kansas match at the AirCap Open, and I don't believe we're going to be able to get Elliot on today. So we'll try to get him on next week. And we'll announce the matches. I posted them on our Facebook page. There's now a Facebook page you guys can go to for information. Just type in Players Challenge Series, no apostrophe, in the little Facebook search thing. It'll take you right to it. If you see a Facebook group that says Players Challenge Series 2014, don't worry about that one. Just go to the one that just says Players Challenge Series, and you'll see all the reports. I'm posting bio information that apparently is pretty well received, and some other stuff that, as we move along, this Players Challenge thing is turning into. I think it's
so far.
I'm really excited by it. It's just taken a lot of. Okay, there's a funny joke in the chat room. I should never look in the chat while I'm talking. I don't know. It's exciting for me. I think it's going to be great. The players seem to really like it. I think it's win-win-win. I've talked to a couple of tournament directors. They're helping out. They're buying into the concept. I think we'll have an announcement in a couple of weeks about Virginia Beach. Originally, I had scheduled matches in Virginia Beach, and I think now what we're going to do is we may have some second-round matches there and maybe one first-round match, but we'll announce that in a couple of weeks. And then what I'm working at doing is getting these matches on the flyer so we can try to get an audience from some of the locals. And one of the ideas and one of the premises of the Players Challenge Series is it's going to help get people coming in to watch and give we're trying to create a platform for the players to strut their stuff. And let me tell you, it seems it's popular with everybody I've talked to. It's just the logistics are kind of hard. So what we're going to do in Las Vegas is we have 2 matches in Las Vegas. We may as well do this now. Are we up against a break? I don't even know where to look at the time anymore.
Oh, no.
Where's
fine.
the time?
We've only gone 6 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's up at the top now. See, it used to be in the corner.
Right.
Friday night at 6 p.m. local time in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Open, Ray Carver.
Okay.
Ray the Razor Carver is going to play Scott Wollaston.
Wollaston, right.
Which at 6 p.m., which puts it before after the Nationals and before the blind draw, which I think is a kind of the sweet spot where you want to have these matches. And it's kind of an interesting match. It's a rematch from the first NWDS that Wollaston won. When he remember he earned the nickname Mr. Lucky and gave me all that grief.
Right.
Though he played Ray in the semi, and it went down to the very last leg. And I'm pretty sure Ray wants a little payback.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure he does. So, and those guys know each other. They're great competitors. I was reading the bio, and these bios are funny. I mean, it's kind of a hassle chasing down some of the info, but when you get it, it's worthwhile. I mean, I didn't know Williston was back-to-back national 501 champion. He didn't say what year.
Yeah.
And that he uses John Kramer signature darts, which I didn't even know existed. So I learned two things about Williston. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. in Las Vegas, before the first event, which I believe is a doubles event at 10, Larry the Eagle Butler, or Butler, if you prefer. Larry Butler is going to play Danny Baggish.
Nice.
And I don't know if you had a chance to look at the picture of Danny Baggish. He's got a Chicago Bulls tattoo on his forearm.
I did not see that. No, I saw the
Did you see the picture?
I just looked
at
his
throwing arm.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look, he's got a Bulls tattoo. I mean, how do you not like a guy with a Bulls tattoo? Okay, and then in the chat room, the reason that my hat is crooked like this is my homage to Colin Kaepernick, because everybody's ripping on Richard Sherman for his post-game antics. I watched some football on Sunday. And he goes out, and Colin Kaepernick comes out in his post-game interview with a hat like this. So it must be cool. It must look great. If an NFL quarterback's going to do it, I guess I should do it too.
All the kids are wearing it these days.
So anyway, we have, help me out. Was it Minifield? What's her name?
Yes. Agnes?
Abigail.
Abigail, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Minifield.
Abigail Minifield,
yes.
Who is from somewhere in England. We'll have to ask her. We have Abigail on Skype. Now, she is Richard Sherman's piano teacher. So let's see if we can get her. Abigail, are you with us? Hello? Abigail?
Hello, are you there?
Yes, we are. How are you, Abigail? This is Steve Pounce-Hellman and Mystery Mark from Dart Talk. Thanks for taking our call. How are you today?
I'm well, and you?
Very well,
thank you.
Yeah.
Just a little background for the audience. Obviously, no one who listens to our show knows you. You are a transplanted English woman living in Compton, California.
Well, yes, I am.
And you taught piano to Richard Sherman like 14 or 15 years ago?
I did.
Okay. Tell us a little bit. There are some rumors on Twitter about Richard Sherman as a piano student, that somehow he wouldn't play C scales or something like that, or he pounded on the piano.
He couldn't tell the difference between a black key or a white key. It was amazing.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Well, how was he at recitals and stuff like that? Was he a well-behaved student?
Well, except for the shouting, he was very good.
He shouted?
He shouted a lot.
He shouted all the time.
He shouted while he was playing piano?
Yes, it was problematic.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I heard Keith Jarrett. I was a big Keith Jarrett fan, and Keith Jarrett would kind of hum, at certain points, like, crescendos or something in his compositions and stuff. So how long did Richard study piano with you?
Oh, a couple of months. It was a couple of months, yes.
Did he have promise as a student? Was he a natural, or was he the kind who kind of struggled?
He struggled at first. Like I said, he couldn't tell the difference between the keys. But eventually he got it. He just shouted all the time. It was...
Would he shout at you?
Shouted at me, shouted at everybody.
What sort of things was he shouting?
Oh, just things.
Just things. And are you still in contact with him? What can you give us? You said he only studied piano with you for a couple of months. What happened after a couple of months?
Oh, he passed away.
What?
He passed away.
He passed
away.
Yes.
We're talking about Richard Sherman from Compton, California.
Yes. Richard was probably in his 80s at this point when he passed. He was a wonderful man.
He was 80s when you taught him piano. He was in his 80s.
Yes, he was.
Okay, Abigail, I think we may be talking about the wrong Richard Sherman. Thanks for coming on the show, and we wish you all the best.
Will I still be getting paid?
We'll discuss that.
We'll talk to you offline. Thanks for that, Abigail. Okay.
Thank you.
Abigail, she'll have to leave her information, and we'll see if we can get her a check.
Okay, that's sort of embarrassing.
How did that happen?
Well, how many Richard Shermans could there be
I
in
don't know.
Compton,
Did we not get
California? Okay.
do we not get confirmation of which
Look,
Richard Sherman it was?
I don't know. We might have to start paying the interns who are setting up the interviews for us. That didn't work out.
We got to
very
get a
well.
background check going.
Okay. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with Adam Sherlock. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark, Steve Foncielman, Abigail Minifield, and we'll be right back.
And a dead Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Okay, back for the second quarter, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
The DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators, Redwood Darts. Dart Talk, host of the Players Challenge Series.
Yep.
Maybe we should start working that in, too. Let's run our disclaimer, because we should have done that earlier, and we didn't, and I blame you.
I went awry.
Let's blame society. It seems like the week to blame society for everything.
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
Okay, well said.
Yep,
Thanks, Arthur.
absolutely.
What are we talking about? All right, so, I was kind of like in a silly mood, right?
Okay.
So when I posted the link for the show today, I said, should darts be a contact
sport,
right, or something like that. Well, now here's why I bring this up, because
it's hard to make a contact sport when you have
I spent
metal points in your hand.
I spent some time on Facebook, and you get discussions on Facebook take on like a life of their own. So at some point, I had like two guys arguing with me over whether darts is a team sport. Which all I really posted was something like, I don't consider darts a team sport. I consider darts an individual sport.
I would too.
I consider baseball a team sport.
Yeah.
Or football or basketball. I don't consider tennis a team sport.
No,
I mean,
but
they
you
do play doubles.
You do have that, and you have the Davis Cup, and you have a team event.
Those exact words that I posted. I'm like, okay, you can have all the team events you want.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it a team sport. I mean,
Right.
team sport means, whatever. So as I'm reading all these posts on Facebook, and I'm just sort of like, don't really know what to make of a lot of the stuff I read sometimes, I come across a post about they had a dust-up in the Minuteman Dart League, and there's like all these comments and, people weighing in. And it was just sort of like this whole Richard Sherman thing, which is why we tried to track down his piano teacher. But,
Right.
You get a lot of opinions on stuff, and I think some of this stuff is worthy of discussion. So we have kind enough to join us is Adam Sherlock from the Minuteman Dart League. I believe he is the league commissioner for... And we'll have to ask him. I'm pretty sure it's the biggest dart league in the country.
Do we have confirmation on this? Our last interview didn't go so well.
Do we have that it's the real Adam Sherlock? Let's see. Adam, are you with us?
Yes, I am. How are you guys?
Good. We're having a bad day.
Yeah.
Are you the real Adam Sherlock, who's the league commissioner of the Minuteman Dart League?
I am.
Thank God. Okay.
In where? Not in like South Carolina or anything, right?
There's only
one.
You're in Boston, aren't you?
Certainly not Compton. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. We got to double check these things sometimes.
I mean, if you ask some women, there's a lot of Minutemen. But the Minuteman Dart League, tell us a little bit about it, Adam. I was always under the impression it had around 6,000 players and was the biggest steel tip league in the country.
Yeah, you're pretty close, Steve. Currently, I'd say we were about 5,000 players. We average somewhere between 450 teams and 500 teams in a season. Believe it or not, that's half of what it once was. In the early 90s, there was over 11,000 players, over 1,100 teams. I blame the DUI laws and the smoking laws on a lot of that. And, there's just not as many bars. And some of the players went to other leagues were formed, but I think a lot of it had to do with those things that happened over the years, the DUI laws and whatnot.
Okay. Well, as league commissioner, I assume you have a lot of fires to put out, so to speak.
I do.
Let's cut right to the chase. I'm very curious from a conceptual standpoint and whatnot, what a league official can do about some of the things that happen with recreational darters, amateur darters, league players, and whatnot. Now you had a major dust-up in your state semifinals, A division, I believe, a week ago, something like that.
Yes, we did. I will preface this a little bit too, Steve. A lot of the stuff is still kind of ongoing as far as, the board of directors hasn't made a decision. I have to be careful as far as speaking for them. So I'll try to be specific, but I may be generalizing a little bit as well. So not that I'm trying to hide anything. I just I think I owe it to the players that are involved and the board of directors who I answer to as well.
Yeah, we're not trying to embarrass anybody.
Sure.
It's like a Quinn Martin production, the names and something have been changed to protect the innocent or whatever.
Yes.
We don't want to name any names,
Right.
and I'm not really interested in a he said, she said, who to blame kind of thing. I'm just conceptually, I want to look at the problem with discipline and behavior just kind of in general, and it seems like you're a good guy to talk to about this because, you're coming at it. I always look at things, coming from a player's standpoint, but as a league official, I would think that you look at it much differently.
I do, to a degree. I'm also a player, so I've seen it. I've seen both ends of it. Especially in my earlier years, I kind of came across a few of these dust ups before I was involved with helping run the league. It's believe it or not, it's a kind of a common problem. It doesn't happen a lot, but it tends to happen more often in our playoffs. Things get very intense in the playoffs. You mentioned about darts being an individual sport and not really a team sport, and I do agree, and I like the Ryder Cup reference. With the Minuteman Dart League, I think what makes us different than some other leagues is we very much have a team atmosphere. We play on one board for the night. You may have 45 minutes between games. You only play 3 games, and everyone kind of sits around and watches what's going on. They're watching every match, every leg. We tend to root each other on an awful lot, especially in the playoffs. And what tends to happen in the playoffs is people tend to root each other on a little bit more. Every double hit is a cheer. Sometimes the stuff that comes out of people's mouths isn't appropriate. It's not sportsmanlike sometimes. And you add in the alcohol, which is a common denominator in all this. And at times, it's a recipe for disaster.
How many guys on each team?
9 guys on each team. You need 6 to field a match. You need a minimum of 6 really to play a match in full, but we carry 9 on the team.
Those are big teams.
That's
and
big
you only
teams.
play like 3 legs a night?
We play
Each person.
We have 12 games. The first 3 games are double in, double out, 5-1, and it's a single leg. Then the rest of the games, we've got a pairs cricket. There's three pairs crickets, and then there's 6 301 singles, and they're all 2 out of 3 games. So
well,
you play, you play a bit, but there is definitely some downtime in between, and it's not a marathon night of a lot of darts. It's kind of a night out, hanging out.
Kind of a night out, hanging out.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about. Do you want to say anything specific about this one incident?
Yeah, I mean, again, not to go into too much details. I can kind of give you an idea, though. We had an incident where it was a playoff match. Particular 301 single had just ended. Hands were shaking. People walked away, getting ready for that next match, and the double that was hit to win the game was disputed by the other team, by the team that had lost the match.
But not the player that lost.
Not the player, but his teammates.
Actually, not by the player that lost. He, according to him, he really wasn't paying a lot of attention. He was just he was thinking about his game, his shot. He really wasn't paying a lot of attention to the other guy. He just wanted to get up there, focused, and shoot.
And who was the who was the chalker on the one of the teammates?
The chalker was actually on the winning darts team. So it was actually the home team. So.
Okay, so home team chalker, home team victory, handshake, and then the visiting team is disputing the winning double.
Yeah. You got a couple of the teammates on the side that they're paying attention to the game a lot. When I mentioned to you earlier about how they cheer each other on, and when they hit that winning dart, you get a big cheer from the crowd, from their teammates. What they had noticed was there was no cheer after hitting the winning double, and they didn't think that, from what they saw, that the guy had hit it. And what ended up happening from there was words were exchanged, accusations of cheating, just calling each other out, really, and calling each other's manhood out over a double at darts. And from there, it becomes the he said, she said thing. The biggest problem with being in my position is we don't have the luxury of being there for every single match. We tend to try to get a board member at all our finals, but our semifinals, we've got 10 teams all across the state of Massachusetts, eastern Massachusetts. It's really hard to be able to get somebody at every one of these matches. So they're kind of there on their own. You got one team that feels that it went down this way, and you got the other team that feels it went down this way. And then they're similar, but in some aspects they're vastly different. And you have to take people's word. And whose word do you take?
They're both going to be different.
The other?
Yeah.
So how do you go about adjudicating, or I mean, if you've got, a story from one team that's vastly different from a story from the other team, what are you supposed to do?
Well, I try to talk to the captains first off. Then I try to determine who was actually involved in, whether it's push and shove or actually fighting. See if we can talk to them and get their side of the story. And then if we can get some teammates to make some statements, that helps as well. Maybe it kind of help you paint a picture. In this case, we actually asked as many teammates from both sides to send us just like an email to me or a text, just giving a brief rundown of what they felt happened. So we could get it on record. I'd like to, I submit at the end of something like this, I try to submit like an incident report to the board so we can look at it and try to figure out what to do about it. Most of the time.
Is there an end result?
Usually there is, yeah. I mean, we kind of have, since I've been with the league, we've kind of, we've taken the stance that fighting, throwing of hands, punching, things like that are suspendable offenses. That's something that gets you tossed from the league. We try to hear from both parties so we can determine that, if it in fact happened. I will admit there's been a lot of incidents of some type of pushing and shoving, but never gets to that point where people are fighting. They get separated. Our stance so far since I've been involved with the league is if there wasn't a physical fight, we put them on probation. And what that means is if you get into any other kind of trouble, fight, push, shove, anything at all, it gives us the power to suspend you indefinitely or for a term that we determine. And it kind of gives the players, a one-strike chance to never do it again. And it's been pretty effective, to be honest with you.
Okay. Let's take a quick break. You're listening to Alex Spellman of the...
What?
Did I say? I didn't say that right, did I?
I think you meant Adam.
Adam Sherlock of the... I told you I'm having a bad night. Adam Sherlock of the Minuteman Dart League, Steve Donzimo with Mystery Mark. We'll be back in about 60 seconds. Stay with us. Okay, back for the second half of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators, Redwood Darts, and Adam Sherlock of the Minuteman Dart League, who's still with us. Adam, where we left off, you were talking about gathering up an incident report. You said that you pretty much talked to as many people that were present as possible.
Yeah, and honestly, tell you exactly how it kind of happened for me Friday. And this could be any incident really, because it tends to go like this. It happened Thursday night, late. It was about 10:30, 11:15, and I got to be in Boston early in the morning, and I'm an hour away. So I had to shut down and just call everyone in the morning. And I talked to as many people as I could while I was at work, honestly. And, you're only able to talk to a few people. So I probably talked to 2 people on one side, maybe 3 people on the other, in between things at work. And just tried to get as much information as I could. And I actually getting the emails from them helped because, trying to remember what everyone tells you and not, mix them up or even say maybe even repeat something that might not have actually happened exactly that way. So yeah, we just gather up the information and just trying to, I'll be honest with you. On Thursday night, when I first heard what happened, I was siding with one team in my head. After talking to the other side Friday morning, I'm like, wow, that happened, and it sounds like those guys were really the ones that caused it. And then I talked to 2 more guys from the other team, and it's a whole other thing. And it's like, if I had to make the decision on what people are telling me, I don't know that I could make, a reasonable decision on who should move on in the playoffs, who should be punished. It's really hard. I mean, the one thing about this particular incident is that the bar that they played in had video cameras, and they had all kinds of it. Yeah.
Oh, now it's like an SVU. Now it's like, hey, we have video. Because I guarantee you what you will find, because I was talking to somebody on the phone today, and she was like, well, do you remember last year's tournament? How long did some event run? And I'm like, I don't remember a thing. I mean, everybody thinks they remember, but as it turns out, your perception when you're impaired is nowhere near reality. And now you have an objective reality with a video.
And what you just said there is exactly true. Your perception when you've had that much to drink, as opposed to what you end up seeing on something like a video, it can be night and day.
And correct me if I'm wrong. This is one of these deals where this is a statewide tournament, so the visiting team kind of all carpooled and had a designated driver and came from far away.
Yeah, that was exactly it. Yeah.
Okay,
they had the benefit of the club that they played out of, a private club, gave them a vehicle, and they found a designated driver, and they did it right, which is good.
Good to hear. That's good to hear. So you had video.
Yeah, we did.
So
and the good thing about that,
did that reiterate what you thought originally, or did it change your perception or your thought process or your knowledge of how it went down?
Oh, yeah. You ever hear that saying? There's 2 sides to every story, and then there's a third side that's the truth.
Yeah.
a little bit of what both sides said, you could see in what happened. And again, I'm not going to be very specific. You add in the inebriation factor and how people remember things. At the end of the day, both sides were culpable. One member from each team did something stupid. And after we, the board, figure out, what our take on what I saw and what they saw, the few other board members that saw it, we'll try to determine, if this was a suspendable offense or a probationary type of offense. I mean, the descriptions and stuff that came on Facebook, and some of the stuff that came out, actually, some of the players made it sound really, really bad. And not to say that it wasn't a light thing that happened. It was something that should never happen in darts. And the fact that it gets on Facebook and gets discussed, it really gives the league, the players, the bar, it gives everyone a black eye.
Does it? I go back and I'm sure you're right. And I'll just play devil's advocate just for the sake of because we're involved in a new dart promotion now. And one of the premises was that, we want to exhibit the very best behavior from our top players to set an example. it seems to me that when you're playing, in the local league, and you have 5, 6 divisions of ability in the Minuteman Dart League.
Yep, that's correct.
And then what division were these guys in?
These were the second from highest tier. We have a Super A division that we have our best players tend to play in, and then the next tier down, which is all players that end up at some point most likely in Super A, especially these guys that are in the playoffs. They're all very talented players for the most part, and honestly, you would expect more from them.
You're talking about experienced, talented players that have been around the block and kind of know how they should behave.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I'm kind of wondering, if it would have been a team of beginners where all they do is play other teams of beginners, it seems to me that kind of format, they sort of reinforce their own bad habits. But, people that work their way up through a league, I would think start getting introduced to,
I guess
better and better behavior.
The question would be, though, is there a difference? Are there more incidents in the lower levels than there are, or are they where are they more common?
Let's ask Adam.
I'd say it's about equal. You get stupidity across the board. I think there's less incidents, if any, during the regular season. I mean, there definitely are a few things that happen. I think it's the intensity of the playoffs. It seems like when our playoffs start, there's at least one phone call. And, we do get calls. And what we generally will do is if we get a call that a team was doing something that just the other team wasn't comfortable with, we usually get together as a board through email and talk about it a little bit. And we try to send somebody down to, casually observe somebody that they wouldn't know, just to see. We actually did that this past playoff to another team that we had heard some things about them. Another team called to complain about them. They actually thought that something might happen, so they wanted to see if we could have somebody come down. We send somebody down. And all that happened was a bunch of young 20-something-year-old guys with a lot of testosterone were really enjoying themselves at a night of darts, and I guess it was intimidating to the other team, but it really wasn't anything.
Well, we should encourage that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm constantly trying to figure out why we don't get more league players playing in tournaments, right? It's always been kind of like something I've always wondered. And we're not going to get any answers, obviously.
Right.
That's kind of a totally different subject. Let's get back to the video. So did we come? So you looked at the video and then confirmed, a third story from what you had heard from the other two teams?
Kind of. I was given an impression from one side that it went one way and the other it went another way. When in fact, when you get to see it, you can kind of see how it all starts to transpire. Again, won't go into too much detail, but one thing that was said, I observed that. I really wanted to observe the one thing that was told to me that was kind of like the thing that started it. And I never saw that action that 3 people said happened. I saw something else though that was just as intimidating and that set somebody off basically. That came over and confronted another guy, which turned into this whole shoving thing. Who started it, kind of. We were able to kind of determine that a little bit, and who tried to finish it. I think basically what I did was I took all that information, what I thought I saw on that video, and gave an opinion to these guys that, my peers on the board, and there's 11 other people on the board. It's 11, and compare the notes that a couple there was out of board members, 4 of us actually saw the video, and we'll all compare it and see, come to a determination if there's anything there that we want to address, which I'm sure we will. I mean, again, not specific, but we are actively talking about it. We try to be transparent. We want to make sure that we do something.
What happened with the result of the match?
When they left for the night, it was 12-10 in a race to 13. We decided to have the match finish at the bar that was being played at that night, mostly because we afford both teams the opportunity to play at their home. Whatever home field advantages you get for that particular day. We felt like, well, I won't say we felt like all of us felt like we should have them go back to that particular bar. We actually voted on it. we said, neutral bar or go back there. And there was a majority that felt like we should go back there. So we decided we'd go back there. We as a board wanted to be able to, some of us wanted to be there to monitor it. We picked a time that we felt that we could all be there. I reached out to both teams and said, you have the option of playing on Saturday at 3 o'clock. If you also have the option of conceding and giving the match to the other team. And they both said that they'd like to play it. And we were hoping that they would play it, but when it came right down to it, it was 1 point and a whole lot of driving for one team to come back to that bar. And
too much
trouble. They just erred on the side of caution, I guess. Conceded the play.
Was there ever consideration, because you said earlier that when you saw the video that you said a player from each team was involved, that was there ever consideration of disqualifying both teams from the playoffs?
It was talked about very briefly. We felt that after the information that we had gotten that we couldn't determine if there were punches being thrown. We knew that people were pushing and shoving, and unfortunately, our stance is pushing and shoving doesn't equal fighting. It just means that somebody separated it before it actually turned into something bad, and that's what we really felt happened. So we didn't feel like disqualifying both teams until it just didn't seem to make sense to us at that point in time. We really wanted to see our championship happen. We had another team that was waiting for it, and we had a close match going on. And it seemed like just two people spoiled it.
It was a semifinal, so if you disqualified them both, then there's no final.
Yeah.
The other semifinal is the title.
Yeah,
well, you got nobody left.
Right.
And what happens if you disqualify them both, and then you get to this point where I'm at today, where I have a little more information, and I find out, well, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have, and maybe we should have let that thing play out. How do you give that to a team that's just sitting there waiting? They didn't play the final part,
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough decision because I'm thinking what you should probably do is do a total do-over, and I'm not sure that's fair either.
Right.
I mean, I don't see how you come up with a good decision with something like this, but you guys seem to have a very intelligent process. You're talking to all the people involved. You gather up as much information as you can, and then you as a board look at the information, and then eventually you're voting.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, and we don't all agree with each other. It's not universal.
How often does that happen?
Yeah,
anyway?
11 people in a room. I mean, I can't imagine you're ever going to all agree.
You'd be surprised. Honestly, you'd be surprised. We as a board, I think we have we're all very like-minded. If you would attend one of our meetings, you'd be surprised at the number of unanimous decisions we come to. I think we all have the best interest in the league. Since I've been involved, especially myself and a couple others that got involved in, I think it was 2007. Our biggest issue was to be transparent, to be honest, and all the people. I think that all the people that are on our board right now, we all have that same vision, and we have a lot of unanimous decisions. I'd say out of anything, when we have things like this disciplinary, we all have our own opinions, and it's not as clear cut, but we talk about it a lot. I may get 40 emails in a day sometimes, and half of them are me. We do talk about it an awful lot, and we try to do the right thing by the players and their sponsors, the bars that sponsor them. And, at the end of the day, we really want people to play the matches. We want to promote the game. We want more teams to come in. We don't want to lose teams, and we don't want to be throwing people out if they didn't do anything that deserved it. I'm not saying that in this incident something isn't deserved, but it's a process, and I honestly, do I think it's right? I'm not really sure, guys, but it's so far it's worked for us. I mentioned we'll put a lot of people on probation, and if you screw up again, you'll come back to us suspended. And out of all the people we put on probation, I can only think of one time where somebody did something stupid again, and they ended up on suspended from the league. So I think people really love to play the game, and when they find out they screwed up and they might lose it, they have a tendency to get right and walk away from situations when it gets like that. So I think it works.
I agree with you. It sounds like a good process.
Just it's not a very enviable position.
No.
I mean to adjudicate something like this.
Right.
Especially if you didn't see it in person. But I like
Yeah,
the approach they
You
take.
don't keep everybody happy, that's for sure.
Well, maybe that's, maybe the best decision is the one where both sides are unhappy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want to have to make this call. This
No.
sounds like I wouldn't want any part of it. Adam, thanks. We're going to take another break and then talk some Players Challenge Series and some results. We appreciate you coming on the show. And
Thanks for having me, guys.
yeah, if you shoot me an email when this is ultimately decided, I'm just kind of curious how it all ends up. I mean, it's a fine example for other people running other leagues, how you guys go about, dealing with some difficult issues.
Yeah, I would agree. I did want to mention one thing. I am involved in another league where there's less of a board. There's only the three of us, the PDSL, and we have a kind of a broad range. And right now we have a big presence in New York with Anthony Eugenia running the PDSL, and we had an incident there where we had a final going on last spring, and we had a player that got out of line, and the difference between that and what happened in the Minuteman was, you had a league official there, and you had a guy stalling, being disruptive, and the president of our PDSL league had seen enough and disqualified him, and told him he was not welcome to play in the league anymore, and kind of threw the hammer at him, and that was also nice to see too. And it was, I think, in my opinion, was the right thing to do because of the things that this gentleman was doing at the time, and the common denominator with all of it was alcohol. The guy was he was overserved. And I think it was handled the right way, given that there was a league official there. So, it seems to happen in every dot thing that I'm involved with. So.
Oh, the alcohol leading to problems, really? Because
Yes.
I've never
Right.
seen that.
No. Well, alcohol and the other
Alcohol and dots.
common denominator is you can't have a league official at every event, and
Well, yeah, and I think that having officials around probably at least you can expect people to be on their best behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can never expect perfection, but I have a feeling that a lot more goes on when mother's back is turned than
exactly.
when you're being watched. Thanks again, Adam, for joining us, and I hope we talk to you soon. Good luck with the Minuteman Dart League. I always hear good things about it. It's good. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. You're listening to Dart Talk with... thanks, Adam. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark. Steve Panaziano will be back for one more segment in a minute.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Okay, back for the fourth quarter, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
The DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Redwood Darts, Windy City Fabricators, and Adam Sherlock from the Minuteman Dart League for stopping in and educating us on how you run a league properly. By the way, the Which City Open is back. I didn't get a chance to go last year. It's back. You know the date, right?
Yes, it's October 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Okay, yeah. They don't have a flyer yet, but if you go to mmdl.org or check our Facebook page when there's a flyer,
Couple weeks
I told
or so.
Adam to post it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just may be that the Players Challenge Series, we want to talk about that. We may have the final there. We'll have to see how it works out. A couple announcements on the Players Challenge Series. It's been embraced by every tournament director I've talked to. I mean, it's just really, really popular. It's been popular with the players. We had 3 matches over the weekend, and we have a Facebook page. We'll probably have a website. I know. The minute I say website, I immediately cover up the chat room. But we'll probably have a website
Is there a rim shot to that joke?
Yeah. Well, we had 3 matches over the weekend. We had one in Greenville, South Carolina at the Foothills Fling. We had one at the New York, New Jersey Open in Long Island, New York, and one at the Air Cap Open in Wichita, Kansas.
All right.
Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's go with the Air Cap.
Okay, well, here's the deal with the Air Cap. I got a link to some video from it right before the show, and I haven't had a chance to look at it, but Elliott Milk won over Conley Litton. He beat him 10-1. And if you read the report there, Conley didn't play very badly. Conley averaged practically an 80. Elliott Milk averaged over 106 in the first 6 legs.
That's crazy.
And ended up with like an average in the mid-90s.
Right.
That's
what
world class.
Conley
averaged like 80, which is not bad. I mean, but nowhere near 106.
That.
And I talked to Elliott on the phone, and I should have taken notes because he said this one. I got to get him on the show. He said this one thing about how he went house on him or something. I mean, it was some phrase that I've never heard before.
Yeah.
And he was just literally he blistered the guy. He told me he played in like an ADO regional earlier in the day and threw a bunch of 12 darters, and the guy was just on fire all day, and had gone through the regional without losing a match. He said he won a lot of them, like 3-2 and stuff. But there were some good players there. So, Leonard Gates, who's been on fire, winning everywhere, played in the regional. Mike Brewer played in the regional. And I guess this is the Winmaw Masters one that they're going to have in Charlotte or something. I don't know. But I was astounded. But
he doesn't play much competitive darts, right?
Who's that?
Milk?
Well, he lives in the middle of nowhere. I mean, this is what I find so astounding. I mean, here's a guy who lives in the middle of nowhere with nobody to play, who shows up, and basically he averaged like, 10, 12 darts higher than Darren did in his match against Mark Fair.
Right, because he's like the exception of the rule. We've talked about how, just practicing at home isn't the same thing as going out and playing against somebody.
Well, he must play enough.
Yeah,
he must be getting out enough. And I know he's on webcam darts.
Okay.
And, I actually had a quick chat with Ray Carver. And Ray Carver says he's practicing 3 hours a day on webcam darts.
Oh, really?
So, I mean, there are things you can do if you're isolated, geographically to help your own game. And I know, we talked to Chris Latham out. He lives out in Southern California, but he lives kind of like away from everybody. And, if you work at it, you can succeed in this sport. That's why it's like, the guys saying it was a team sport. I'm laughing my butt off. I'm like, yeah, right?
No, nobody can help you hit a triple 20 or a double.
I just remember scrimmaging in football. Like, it took 15 minutes for these guys to get us organized enough to start running plays, and then the coaches still couldn't figure out what they were doing. It's like, what defense? No. Why tackle 6? Why tackle 6? And I'm looking at the guy, I'm like, we're not going to run that. What are you, kidding me? Anyway, enough on football. So there are match reports. If you go on Facebook and just type in Players Challenge Series in the search thing, you'll find it. Elliott won 10-1 over Conley, averaged 95, played spectacular. I want to get Elliott on the show next week because you got to hear him say these things like going house and stuff. I'm spacing out, but he'll be a good guest. And we'll try to get somebody from Vegas on next week. You got Danny Baggish playing Larry Butler, and Danny's been playing very, very well. Larry always plays well. The rematch with Williston and Carver, I'm dying to see that. I doubt we're going to have anybody streaming it. The problem with the streaming is basically at the venues, whether or not you can get enough of a upload speed to do it. They couldn't do it in Philly. A lot of these hotels try to charge you like hundreds of dollars for it. No, nobody's going to pay that.
Right.
So.
Why would you?
But we will probably before the next show next week, we'll release the video of at least one match, if not two. We have footage of the Long Island match, George Timpone and Todd Bumgarner. Todd Bumgarner played. Todd won that one, and the averages were very, very close. You could throw a blanket over them. It was a lot like what was the match we talked about last week, where I said it was just came down to finishing, or did you? I can't even remember. Maybe that was Darren's match.
No, it wasn't. It was last week. Who played last week? Now I can't remember.
It doesn't matter. I'm spacing out.
But yes, you are correct, though. It did come down to finishing.
Came down to finishing, and this was a problem that and this is going to be, I guess, an ongoing problem with these matches until the players can figure out the best way to do it. Because in Carolina, let's do the Foothills Fling. In Carolina, Robbie Phillips beat Pat Hewitt 10-7. I can't talk about that match much because I just got the last of the information today, but I will say the final that Robbie Phillips advanced.
Okay.
10-7. Do you have the Foothills?
I do.
We have results from a couple of tournaments, but we're only going to have time for one. Let's do the Foothills Fling in Greenville, South Carolina, and go ahead and rip through that.
All right, you got the Friday luck of the draw. Top four: Richard Patterson, Joe Cheney, Sandy Haas, Chris Mize, Eric Sturgeon, and Lisa Ayers. Second, Trent Sumner and Ralph McCool, first place.
Ralph McCool in the house. Ralph will be, because I know we haven't announced the lineups, Ralph will be playing his Players Challenge Series Valentine's Day weekend in Huntsville, Alabama at Shoot the Moon.
All right. Your adult youth cricket, top four: Logan Channel and John Schauman, Caleb Comet, and Pat Hewitt. For top four, second place, Austin Mitchell and Roger Carter, with first place going to Travis Shepley, and Robbie Phillips. Your mixed trips, top four, Sandy Haas, Mickey Eldridge, Trent Sumner, Nancy Joe Mize, Craig Mize, and Ralph McCool. For your top four, Lisa Ayers, Jeff Ware, Joe Cheney for second, Roger Carter, Vera Emmons, and Jerry Hilborn for first. Your women's doubles 501, top four, Stephanie Bemis and Teresa Sepik, Amy Patterson and Tia Rogers. Second place, Lisa Ayers and Sandy Haas. Sandy Hudson and Amy Tucker win your women's doubles 501 event. Your men's 501 singles, Robbie Phillips, Trent Sumner, top four with Pat Hewitt, second, and Ralph McCool first.
Sounds like doubles.
Yeah. Women's 501. Charlie Daniel, is that a band? Vera Emmons, top four. Tia Rogers, and second place, and Lisa Ayers wins that.
It's not a band. She's a nice lady.
Okay.
She is remember I talked about this one event where somebody had to wait 3 hours to throw like 5 darts or something like that? That was Charlie Daniel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Very nice lady.
Your men's doubles 501, top four, Robbie Phillips, Dan Naylor, Bebop, and Mike Hardesty. Second place goes to Cody Gauthier and Chad Massengill. Pat Hewitt and Mike Elder-Broom win your men's doubles 501. So does anybody know who Bebop is?
No, I don't know, but a lot of good players.
Men's doubles 501, Vera Emmons, mixed doubles, I'm sorry, I just did men's. Mixed doubles, Vera Emmons and Roger Carter, Nancy Joe Mize and Ralph McCool for top four. Todd Brazel and Peg Jones, second place. Sandy Hudson and Robbie Phillips, first place. Wow, that was all Friday. Whew. All right, Saturday, luck of the draw. Top 4, Patrick Ellis and Austin Mitchell, Andy Pope and George Alvarado. Second place goes to Jeff Ware and James Pruitt. Brian Bemis and Lisa Ayers. We've been saying her name a lot.
Yeah.
First place. Mixed cricket. Robbie Phillips, Sandy Hudson, Nancy Jo Mize, Ralph McCool, top 4. Jeff Ware, Lisa Ayers for second, and Sandy Haas and Joe Cheney, first place.
Okay.
Men's cricket singles, top 4. Dan Naylor, Robbie Sharpless, George Alvarado for second, and Danny Delfino wins your men's cricket singles.
All right.
Women's singles cricket, Jeff Shepley, Julie Shepley, Lisa Ayers, top 4. Sandy Haas, second, and Sandy Hudson, first.
Okay.
Oh, I'm almost at the end.
Hang in there.
I don't know what this event is. I've got no listing.
Looks like men's cricket doubles.
Men's cricket doubles. Top 4, Trent Sumner, Mickey Eldridge, Jeff Page, Dennis Franey. Second place goes to Craig Mize and Ralph McCool, with Pat Hewitt and Mike Elderbroom winning that one. And your last event would be women's doubles cricket. Top 4, Leanna Waldrop and Jody Comet, Sandy Haas and Lisa Ayers for top 4, Valerie Olson and Tracy Hughes for second place, and Sandy Hudson and Amy Tucker for first place.
Okay, thanks to the Foothills Fling crowd for getting us the results. They had a stream going. It was really kind of interesting. Yeah, they had like one kind of camera, I guess, kind of in the middle of the room that would pan around, so it was fascinating. At one point, I saw Joe Cheney sitting there texting somebody or playing Candy Crush on his phone or whatever. So I called him. I'm like, hey, Joe, can you get a hold of Ralph? And blah, blah. So I talked to him for a while. They had a problem getting their Players Challenge Series match in because of all those events. And then some of them ran long because I guess if they were recycling women or something like that. So they ended up playing their Players Challenge Series match at the end of the tournament, which is almost the same problem that these guys had in Long Island, where they played it. Todd Baumgartner must have, I can't believe he could even lift his arm. I mean, he played at the end of Saturday. He was up late making, I think, top 4 in the Friday night blind draw, and then he made every final on Saturday and then had to play this
Really?
thing. Yeah, so I'm
How
going
did
to
he
talk.
do? We didn't give a result for that.
Oh, Todd won. Todd beat George Timpone.
Oh, okay.
And there are like detailed reports with stats. You're going to have to go to the Facebook Players Challenge Series game for that, because I didn't have time to kind of like type them up so we could display them. This thing's just taking a lot of time, and I spent an entire day coming up with these little intro, like, movie things. That software is hard to learn. I don't know what to say about that. I'm going to talk to the players. We need to figure out the best time to play these matches, because, the tournaments, and, we talked to Adam Sherlock offline, and, he's in charge of the Which City Open with the MMLD, and he's like, I think this is great. We're totally behind this. They talked to the guy in Syracuse, best run tournament. Oh, absolutely. Talked to Virginia Beach. Oh, we're totally down with this. We're going to try to maybe have 3 matches in Virginia Beach. I mean, this has got momentum. I mean, it's going to be popular. We just have to figure out the best way to kind of work it in with everything that's going on.
Right.
How many events were at the Foothills
That was
Fling?
a lot.
I mean,
And you got to try and fit another one.
I mean, it's going to be hard on the players to figure out when to do it. And I'm thinking, Friday before the blind draw, an hour before the blind draw, so the people coming in can watch. And maybe bring in some locals that might not otherwise come to the tournament. Have them come to watch this, this big match, and then stay for the blind draw. I think that, if that helps the individual tournaments, that's going to be great.
right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, we're going to continue with this. I'm already planning for next year. Some interesting ideas we're kicking around to add, get more players involved. I mean, right now we're up to 44 players, and we may add 2 more. That's 14 different tournaments that we're going to have matches held at in the first 3 months of the year. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that.
Right.
I know we're not having Canadians this year, and I'm awfully sorry about that. I'm sorry we couldn't work the women in, but we'll figure out a way to get that done next year. So this weekend, Vegas Open, Friday at 6, Vegas time.
Okay.
Which bring a wristwatch because it's hard to find out what time it is in Vegas because there's no clocks.
Right.
Who did I say? Ray Carver and Scott Williston.
Yes, you did.
Right?
Yes.
Friday night at 6, and then Saturday morning at 9 is Larry Butler and Danny Baggage.
Correct.
And it should be some cracking darts.
Mm-hmm.
Should be some cracking darts. I like Scott Williston's attitude. He understands what this Players Challenge Series is all about. He's like, let's get up there, rock the house. Whoever throws the best wins.
Right.
I mean, I think that's the kind of attitude that people want to see. And I think if people watch these matches and encourage the players will lift their game.
Probably. It would make
they had a real nice crowd in Wichita, from what I heard. In South Carolina, because of the scheduling, they didn't have that many people, and I don't think they had too many people watching it in New York either, because they started at the same time the blind draw started, so they just started calling matches, and everybody had to go play, which is exactly what we're trying to avoid. Right? We're trying to schedule a match that isn't getting played when everyone has to play, so you get a chance to watch them. You learn more about darts watching a good player play than you will reading 20 books.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Not only that, though, so the people that they might say, well, that's why I'm warming up for my next event. But if you just went out and took 10, 15 minutes, you're going to learn something.
The average player, believe me, the average player who, I don't know, in steel, what marks are average. Or let's say if you're a soft tip player who averages like a 3 or under, I guarantee you, if you watch somebody like Ray Carver or Scott Williston or Larry Butler or Danny Baggage, if you take 15 minutes of your warm-up time really watch these guys, and I mean study them, you're a better dart player going back to the board.
Be better than
it's got to be better.
It's going to be better than throwing at the board for 15 minutes by yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
So we'll see. Next week we'll have results from the New York, New Jersey Open, from the Air Cap Open, from the Yuba Sutter, which I have, and we're not going to have time to get to, which was like kind of a small tournament.
It's going to be a result
in California. Well, we're going to have to figure out a way to get the results in advance where we can run them during the breaks, have them scroll down. That just takes so much time, and I can't say I have it, but we'll figure something out, because I can't imagine wanting to sit through 20 minutes of you reading names. Unless we have an over-under on how many get mispronounced.
Well,
I
guarantee
can't say I'm an authority. Anyway, we'll wrap it up for tonight. Thanks to Adam Sherlock for coming on the show.
Yep.
I was educated by talking to him. Thanks to Abigail Minifield for coming on the show.
Yeah, no thanks to whoever told us she was the real
no
Richard
thanks
Sherman's
to our unpaid
piano.
intern who said, hey, I've got Richard Sherman's piano teacher. Here I think we've got a real scoop.
I think actually maybe since they're unpaid, it was the intern's practical joke.
Well, we're going to have to get a new unpaid intern. I mean, they mess up every week, and we keep
I think they did
them.
it on purpose. They stuck it to us on purpose.
The unpaid intern
that said, "Yeah, I'll give him Richard Sherman's piano teacher. That's what I'm going to do."
Thanks a lot.
That's what I think.
He died. Oh my God. Well, at least he can't sue us now. So we'll be back next week. Check our Dart Talk Facebook page for stuff, for information. The Stephen Bunting moving to the PDC. I mean, we talked about that already. I mean, we'll see what happens with that, but we'll talk about that next week. You can follow us on Twitter at Dart Talk. We're going to be using that probably more often now. You can find the show archive on YouTube.
Yep.
Actually, if you want to find old shows, just go to darttalk.us. We have links to YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher.com, TuneIn.com. You can find all the old shows. Email us, darttalk@gmail.com, if you got anything to say or anything you want us to say. Right.
There, that makes sense.
Got anything else?
No, I think we did our best.
We got it. Okay. We'll do better next week, as they say on PTI. Thanks for listening. Take care, and we'll Dart Talk to you next week. Thanks a lot.